You stand, battered and bruised, shield at the ready, sword drawn in front of a giant minotaur, with an opening in the hectic battle. You swing your sword, and now it's the bard's turn behind you. The bard runs out from behind a rock where they had taken cover last turn. They cast a quick healing spell to patch up your wounds, and then take a shot with their hand crossbow before ducking back behind the rock for cover. Do you see the problem in this scenario? Hi, I'm Zarek, creator and lead designer of Indominant, and today I'm wearing my padded Hawaiian combat shirt because we're going to be talking about action economy in TTRPGs. We're going to take a look at a few different types of action economies and what the strengths and weaknesses of each of those are. So let's spend our actions and jump right in. So what is an action economy? Simply put, it's a system, which is a set of rules or mechanics that determines when, how, and how much a character can do on their turn. Even in a system where there aren't hard-coded turns, an action economy still exists, it just might be a bit more inconspicuous. So today, let's focus on systems that have hard-coded turns and approach it from that angle. So the two types of action economy systems we're going to look at today are set actions and action points. Set actions generally have a couple different types of actions that you can do, and you have a limit to how many of each of those types you can do on your turn. Usually there is a move action and then a sort of main action or action, and some systems will have something that might be called a bonus action or minor action that's a bit weaker or might just have a specific niche use. On the other hand, we have action point systems. These systems give you a set number of action points. We're going to call them AP moving forward just to keep things simple. And you can use any number of things available to your character, be it different types of actions, or maybe you have some sort of talent or feat that gives you additional actions to use. But each one will tell you how many AP it's going to use. Some systems might have 3 AP, while others might even get up to 8 or even more AP that a character can use on their turn. Regardless of the total number of AP though, generally they're going to work the same. So let's take a look at a few examples of each of these systems. For set actions, let's use a very well-known game that most people are acquainted with. D&D 5e or 5.5e. In D&D, every character is going to have a move action, an action, and then a bonus action that they can use on their turn. Move action is pretty straightforward. You can move, and then an action is doing things like attacking or casting a spell, and a bonus action is going to be doing something generally a bit weaker or a sort of utility effect. Some pros of a system like this is that it is simple to learn and track. You know that every turn you can move, you can do something else, and then sometimes you're going to also have another minor thing you can do on your turn. Some of the cons of this though is that it's stagnant. Every single turn is going to kind of be the same. That's sort of what makes it not flexible. And so because you can only ever do one of each thing, save for some specific features that might give you access to a second action, if I don't use my bonus action, I've wasted my bonus action for that turn and I've lost something that I could have used. This leads to examples like I started with in this video, where one character might just do one thing on a round and another character will use their full turn to its fullest extent and efficiency. Now for action points, let's take a look at Pathfinder 2e, another very popular and well-known game system. In Pathfinder, you have 3 action points to use on your turns. Most things are going to cost 1 AP, things like moving, striking, taking a step. All of these different actions, for the most part, cost 1 AP. And then we've got spells and some feats that give you activatable abilities. Those are more likely going to cost 2 AP. The pros of an AP system like this is that it's very flexible. On one turn, I could move and then attack twice. Another turn I could attack and cast a spell. So there's a lot of ways to mix and match what you do on a given turn when you have the freedom of AP to use how you wish. And so with that, it allows you to have the room to not move and do something else instead, which means you haven't wasted that part of your turn. Some cons of a system like this is that there's the tracking of counting down. You have to look at your different features and the actions you used and count how many action points you've used. Also, with this amount of flexibility can come too much power. With great power comes great responsibility. And the way Paizo handled that is they have a multiple attack penalty or map. So that way, if you're in front of a troll, you're like a barbarian with a big two-handed sword, you can't just attack 3 times and instantly kill this troll. You're going to get a stacking penalty that goes from 5 to 10 for each subsequent attack. And now I have to tell you that I lied to you. There's actually a third secret type of action economy, and it's one we call the hybrid action economy, and we use it in Indominant. So what makes this action economy system different is that it kind of blends the two set actions and action points. We mix those together to get the best of both worlds in a sense and find a middle ground. So in Indominant you have 4 action points or AP that you can use on your turn, and then you've got several different types of actions that you can use to spend those AP. We've got movement actions, which costs 1 AP the first time you use it on a turn. If you use a movement action more than once, it's going to cost 2 AP every time after. Then we've got main actions that cost 2 AP. These are going to be sort of your stronger, main attacks and actions that you do on your turn. And then minor actions, which cost 1 AP. They're going to kind of fall in line with the idea of a bonus action in D&D 5e. So they serve that purpose of a weaker attack or utility sort of effect. And then we also have free actions, which cost 0 AP, and then reactions, which also these other systems have, but doesn't pertain to this discussion specifically. Some systems will use reactions as part of their action economy, but it's a bit more rare, where most systems have your reactions as their own thing that doesn't eat into your standard action economy for that system. Part of the reason we went with this system is that it gives us that flexibility of action points, but it keeps things a bit more simple, where you can look at them as not numerical things. On a regular turn, you could use a movement action, a main action, and a minor action, and that would be a normal turn, and it would feel very much like a D&D turn. And then on some turns you might not move, and so instead you might do 2 main actions, or you might do a main action and 2 minor actions, or you could move twice and do a minor action. So it gives you a lot of flexibility, and then also because we have that action point number, it also gives us a little dial of something to kind of play with, where there's some ways to gain some extra AP and also some status effects that can reduce a target's total AP on their turn. One of the pros of this hybrid action economy is that it's easy to learn for both people with experience playing D&D 5e and experience playing Pathfinder 2e. It just translates well because it's a mixture of both. You can look at it from the lens of Pathfinder with action points, and you can also look at it through the lens of D&D with your set actions. And it combines the flexibility of action points with the simplicity of set actions. It also adds some interesting design space, where some characters could get an effect that empowers their usage of minor actions or something like that. Instead of having to rely on using the number of the action points spent, we can just use the action types, which is something that can be done in a set action system as well. Another benefit is that in the hybrid action economy, you can track your action points or action types in both a numerical and a non-numerical way as well. So we kind of find that middle ground where we mix the two to get the best of both systems. We do lose some flexibility that a regular AP system has, just like we lose some of the simplicity of a set action system. So with all of that said, thank you for joining me today on this discussion of action points. I know it's not a really lengthy topic, but it is one that I think is a big talking point, especially between the two communities of D&D 5e and Pathfinder. And I think there's merit to both systems, and that's why we really took a look at both of them and combined them into this new system that we haven't really seen before. So thank you very much, supers, and I'll see you next time.